It's still the beginning of the new year, so it's time to start writing your novel. You've got your story, you've got your characters, you've got all that important story stuff. So now the question is, what word processor are you going to use? Hi, hello, how are you? My name is maddibluhme and I'm a multi-genre author. If you are new here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. I post my writing journey, yap sessions, and writing talk videos like this. And if you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. It means the world to me. Today, I wanted to talk about word processors because you can write a story on anything. I mean, you can write it on bits of napkins and compile them into one giant story napkin, but having a word processor that works with your wants and needs can really make the process, if not easier, much more enjoyable. Since I really started taking novel writing seriously in 2023, apart from the writing I was doing for school, I've gone through quite a few and I've recently found what I think is going to be the one, which is super exciting. And so I figured I would share what I've tried in the past and why I've moved on, what I liked and didn't like about each of them, because my pros and my cons might be a selling point for you, and then why I've ultimately ended up with Redacted. And hopefully, if you have been contemplating switching or you've been looking for one to start, this can give you a bit of a guide. If you already use a specific word processor or you have gone down the list, let me know in the comments. I know that what I've tried has only been a drop in the bucket of word processors, so I'd love to hear what else is out there, why you like it, or why you moved on. But without further ado, let's get into it. And if I'm looking down at my screen, it is just my notes because some of these, it has been a few years since I've used them. And we're going to kick off with Google Docs. Docs is probably one of the most accessible word processors out there because Google 100% has a monopoly on email and the Google Suite, which is entirely free. So I actually started writing this Cruel Fate on Google Docs. And at the time, I was putting each chapter in its own separate document, and it was getting very cluttered very fast. But that was just the program I had used all throughout high school. And for some of my college assignments, my college program was really focused on script writing for film and TV. So I actually used Final Draft for that because it is specifically built for scripts. They do have a novel option, but I never used that, so I couldn't say one way or the other. But Google Docs has a lot of benefits. It's free, it's cloud-based, so you can access it from anywhere you have a Wi-Fi signal, and I believe they do have an offline version as well, so it is really versatile in that sense. And it's fairly intuitive because it's most likely what you've used throughout school, so you're probably already aware of how to format things, how you like, make headings, find the font that is prettiest or fits your story best, and it gets the job done. While this wasn't a problem when I was writing on it, this is a problem now, and that is Google is trying to push Gemini into absolutely everything. So you do have to deal with the AI now, which sucks. And I have noticed sometimes with alpha or beta reading, if it is a really long document, sometimes Google Docs just takes forever to load it and it just gets a little buggy. And while outside of those things, I don't really have anything wrong with Google Docs, I moved on because I wanted something that was just a little bit more novel writing centered. Number 2, we've got the OG word processor, Microsoft Word. I used Word in tandem with Google Docs because it is the word processor, and it's very similar to Google Docs in terms of formatting, font, all of those general things, though it is not cloud-based. Microsoft, I think, does have a cloud, but I have never used it. I only used the, I only ever used the app Word. The biggest difference is that Word is not free. I think I was paying like $60 a year, and I primarily used Word as the master copy for the Scroll Fate, so I would copy and paste my singular chapter documents into this one large document, and I used that for beta readers and editor. Why? I'll be honest, I don't really know. So that's why when I moved on from Google Docs, I stopped paying for Word because I didn't really see the need to pay for something that I wasn't really using on the daily. So that led me to my first subscription and novel centered writing program, and that was Dabble. Dabble really highlights the made by writers for writers kind of deal, kind of branding, and it really positions itself as a cloud version of Scrivener. However, it should be noted that a Scrivener license is like $70 for life, and lifetime access to Dabble is $700. I would not ever pay $700 for a word processor personally. And I'd really, because it positions itself so closely to Scrivener, again, like I personally just don't think that's worth it. I did month to month and I think it was like $8 a month. So would that eventually add up to 700? Maybe, but obviously I'm not still using it. They did have a lot of features for creating plot lines and building character profiles and keeping it all in the same document hub as the main story. And then, of course, you can access it from anywhere. I eventually decided to stop using it because at the time I only had my MacBook. So cloud based really wasn't a concern for me. And I didn't know why I would be paying $8 month to month for a very long time when I could just do one payment of 70 and have the same features, which conveniently leads us to Scrivener. When I got Scrivener, I was fully expecting that program to be the one that I would use for the rest of my life because it's so popular. I know so many people who absolutely love Scrivener, and I'm so happy for them. It is a very expansive program, and I don't think I really scratched the surface of it. Scrivener isn't cloud-based, so you don't need an internet connection to write. And again, there's so much you can do with the program. You can also customize it, but in my opinion, it's a little less intuitive than something like Google Docs, but the customization is more than Google Docs. Something that may have affected how I used Scrivener was at that time I also started using Notion for my personal life, but I found out that I really liked building my own story Bibles in Notion as well. And it was customizable in a way that made sense for me because digital note cards does not work for me. I can do physical note cards, but the digital planning just is static in my brain. And the way Notion does subpages and things like that, I found were just more intuitive for how my brain works. And I honestly just never took advantage of any of the other note taking parts of Scrivener. Like for me, it was definitely the equivalent of buying a full gaming PC to only run like online games or something. I play like Mario Party and Fortnite, so my repertoire of games is not that great. But it was just a lot of program, and I don't need a lot of program. And then I got my work from home job, so I needed something a little bit more reliable than my trusty old MacBook. So I got my desktop, and that made it a lot harder to write from different places because sometimes I want to write on my desktop and sometimes I want to write on my MacBook, and Scrivener is just really complicated. And I'm not a software person, so maybe objectively it's not that complicated, but for me it is. So I didn't really see the point in continuing to use it. So I decided to shop around a little bit more. So I tried Reedsy. Reedsy is also very popular because it's a full hub for all things writing and publishing. You can find editors, you can find book cover designers, and they run workshops. It's just very centered around all things being a writer. The Reedsy editor, which is what their word processor program is called, is cloud-based, so that's a plus for me. They do have a free option. They also have a premium version, and what I really liked is they offer a 30-day free trial, which makes a lot more sense than like a 7-day free trial because I feel like that's just not a lot of time to get into the flow of a program and really decide if you like it or not. So I really enjoyed that and I really respected it, and you don't have to put your card information in. So I decided to try the premium program because I'm not against paying for something. I just want to feel like it's worth it, I guess. Reedsy is very similar to Dabble and Scrivener, where it has a lot of options and templates for world building, character building, plot building. And I think they are a bit more in depth than Dabble or Scrivener. So I think Reedsy can be great, especially if you are a newer writer and you need some help thinking about what to find. And while I wouldn't say I'm like the most advanced, experienced writer, like still very new, I just don't really like how involved they were personally. I like to just make notes of things in a more narrative style document. So again, I really just prefer how I build my Notion story Bibles. And when there's a template, I feel the need to fill it out all the way before I start writing. But I really learn a lot about my world and my characters with the first draft because I'm working through the world. So it makes more sense for me to go back and add details after I've written them. So I didn't really like all of those extra features on Reedsy. And I think Reedsy's kind of ugly, which I know is so neither here nor there, but it is what it is. I also found that Reedsy is kind of annoying to get to, in my opinion, especially if you go through like reedsy.com because it's a hub. So there's just a lot of extra clicking, which again isn't the worst thing. It's just not my vibe. So when my trial was up, I had heard about this other writing program and I decided to give it a shot. And that is what I currently use. And it is, drumroll, Ellipsus. Ellipsus is a cloud-based writing program and they don't use any generative AI. They are very staunchly against it. They take a very hard stance. And it's made with creating a easy collaboration between sending documents to your alpha readers, beta readers, editors, things like that. And I really like how they set that up. The program itself is very simple. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the character building sheets and plot building note cards and all of that, which again, perfect for me because I love using Notion. So it's the perfect amount of program for what I need. And I also love pen and paper for planning as well. So yeah, anyways, all I need is the drafting, and that's what Ellipsis is about. You can create folders. So especially if you're working on a series, this is very helpful because you can have the folder with the series name, and then you can have each book as a separate document. But then what's really cool is you can create a new document. All the documents are saved in one hub. So I guess you could write out like character sheets and things like that and just like as a new document. But basically you can turn the document you're working in into a new draft. And the drafts you can send out to your critique partners, whatever, whoever you need to send it to, and then they can make comments on that draft and they don't need like an Ellipsis account. They can just make comments and it's saved all in that one hub. So it's easy to view and then you can make changes in the main document and so on and so forth. So I really like that. They have so many themes to set the vibe for your story. It is overall, so if you're working on multiple stories, you would have to change your theme as you go back and forth. They have so many and that makes writing exciting. And you know what? I'm an iPhone user, so what does that tell you about me? I just want my technology to look good and work like it's supposed to. I don't need to go into all of these in-depth customizations. You can just give me like an option for a different theme, and that is enough for me. And choosing a font that I really like, that's all I want. That's all I need in life. That's what Ellipsis gives me. It looks good and it works how I need it to work. It doesn't have a daily word count goal or overall project word count goal like all of the other novel programs that I've talked about, but it is still very new. Right now, Ellipsis is entirely free because, to my understanding, since they're still a startup, they're using investor funds, and then they will create a subscription option with additional features. But all the features that are included in it right now will remain completely free. They have a Discord. I'm not a part of it because I don't know, maybe I'll join it. But they go over updates and things like that in there. So I can imagine that in the future, there will be those more goal-oriented features in the program. But those are all of the word processors that I have tried. Just because Ellipsus works great for me, it might not be the best one for you. I know some author friends who have tried Ellipsus, no go, they went back to Scrivener. So that is the great thing about all of these different programs, is you can really shop around until you find the one that feels right. That's all I have for you today. So if you are writing your first novel and you've never used a word processor outside of Google Docs, or you're working on your 50th novel and you want to switch it up, I hope that this gives you a little direction into the different kinds of word processors out there and what features might be more beneficial to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Again, I would love to know what word processors you love, which ones did not work for you, and I will see you in the next one. Why is it said full battery and now it says dead battery?